Maria Thompson lived a life that was anything but easy. She woke up every morning before the sun had even thought about rising, her alarm clock buzzing insistently in the quiet darkness of her small apartment. The air was always chilly, and the creaky floorboards groaned under her tired feet as she shuffled toward the kitchen to start the coffee maker. It wasn't much, a one-bedroom space with peeling wallpaper and a leaky faucet. But it was home. More importantly, it was the only place she could afford while working 2 jobs to keep food on the table and clothes on her daughter's back. Lily, Maria's 8-year-old daughter, was her entire world. With big brown eyes that sparkled like sunlight on water and a laugh that could light up even the gloomiest days, Lily was the reason Maria kept pushing forward despite the challenges. But raising a child alone wasn't easy, especially when money was tight. Every penny counted, and there were nights when Maria skipped dinner so Lily could have an extra scoop of macaroni and cheese. Still, she never complained. Not once, because, for Maria, seeing Lily smile made all the sacrifices worth it. Maria worked as a cleaner at Sterling Tower, one of the tallest and most luxurious office buildings in the city. It gleamed against the skyline, its glass windows reflecting the clouds during the day and glowing like a beacon at night. Inside, sleek desks lined open-plan offices, expensive suites filled elevators, and polished floors shone brighter than any star. To Maria, though, it was just another workplace, a place where she spent hours mopping, dusting, and emptying trash bins after everyone else went home. Her shifts usually started late in the evening, giving her enough time to pick Lily up from school and help her with homework before heading out. On this particular day, however, things didn't go according to plan. As Maria arrived at work, her supervisor, Mrs. Harper, approached her with an apologetic look on her face. "Maria," she began hesitantly, "I'm so sorry to ask this, but we're short-staffed tonight and I need you to stay longer than usual. Is there anyone who can watch Lily?" Maria froze, her heart sinking. Normally, her neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, would take care of Lily when emergencies arose, but today, Mrs. Jenkins was visiting family out of town. Maria glanced down at her phone, scrolling through contacts, hoping someone, anyone, might be available. But no one answered. After a few tense moments, she sighed and nodded. "It's okay, Mrs. Harper, I'll figure something out." The truth was, Maria didn't have many options. Taking Lily to work wasn't ideal. It wasn't exactly a kid-friendly environment, but she couldn't leave her alone either. So, after calling Lily over to explain the situation, Maria helped her change into her best outfit, a soft pink sweater paired with slightly worn jeans. "We're going on a little adventure tonight," Maria told her cheerfully, masking her worry behind a warm smile. "How does that sound?" Lily clapped her hands excitedly, oblivious to her mother's stress. "An adventure? Yay!" she exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Maria chuckled, grateful for her daughter's boundless enthusiasm. Together they boarded the bus, riding downtown until they reached Sterling Tower. As they stepped inside, Lily gasped in awe. The lobby was breathtaking, with marble floors so shiny she could see her reflection and towering glass walls that seemed to stretch endlessly upward. People hurried past them, clutching briefcases and chatting on their phones, completely absorbed in their own worlds. While Maria changed into her uniform, a plain gray jumpsuit, and gathered her cleaning supplies, Lily wandered around the lobby, her curiosity piqued by everything she saw. She pressed her nose against the glass doors, watching cars zoom by outside, then spun around to admire the grand chandelier hanging above. For a moment, she forgot about the cramped apartment she shared with her mom and the hand-me-down toys she played with every day. Instead, she imagined herself living in a place like this, surrounded by beauty and luxury. As Maria began her work, Lily stayed close, sitting quietly on a bench while her mom swept and wiped surfaces. Occasionally, she'd point out interesting things to Maria, a painting on the wall or a fancy plant in the corner, but mostly, she observed the people passing by. They looked so different from the folks she knew back home. Their clothes were crisp and tailored, their shoes shiny and spotless. Even the way they walked seemed confident, as if they owned the building itself. Despite the stark contrast between her reality and theirs, Lily didn't feel envious. Instead, she felt curious. What did these people do all day? Did they enjoy their jobs? Were they happy? Questions swirled in her mind as she watched them disappear into elevators and conference rooms. And then, something caught her eye. A group of important-looking men and women gathered in a glass-walled meeting room on the ground floor. At the center of the group stood a man who commanded attention without saying a word. He wore a perfectly fitted suit, his posture tall and commanding. Yet there was something about him that intrigued Lily. She moved closer, drawn to the intensity of his presence. Through the glass, she studied him carefully, noticing the way his sharp gaze scanned the room, the way his lips pressed together in concentration. Most people avoided looking at him directly, intimidated by his aura of power. But Lily wasn't afraid. In fact, the longer she stared, the more certain she became of one thing. Beneath the polished exterior, this man carried a weight he didn't know how to share. Lily stood there, her small frame almost hidden behind a tall potted plant near the glass walls of the conference room. Her eyes were fixed on the man in the suit, the one who seemed to radiate authority without even trying. She tilted her head, slightly, studying him as if he were a puzzle waiting to be solved. To her, this wasn't just another adult dressed in fancy clothes. There was something deeper about him that she couldn't quite put into words yet. The man, Alexander Drake, wasn't your average businessman. At 45 years old, he had built an empire from scratch, turning a modest tech startup into a global powerhouse worth billions. His name was synonymous with success, innovation, and influence. People admired him, or at least they pretended to, but few dared to get close enough to really know him. He was known for his sharp mind, relentless drive, and an ability to make decisions faster than anyone else in the room. But beneath the polished exterior lay a man burdened by expectations, loneliness, and the weight of constantly striving for more. As Alexander led the meeting inside the boardroom, his voice carried through the glass walls, firm and commanding. Charts and graphs flashed on the screen behind him, detailing strategies and projections that most people wouldn't understand. Around the table sat executives dressed in equally expensive suits, nodding along or scribbling notes. They hung onto his every word, eager to impress him, but none of them truly saw him. Not the way Lily did. From her spot outside, Lily continued to watch silently. Something about the way Alexander carried himself caught her attention. It wasn't just his confidence or the way he spoke. It was the subtle things. The slight furrow of his brow when someone asked a question, the faint sigh that escaped his lips when the conversation dragged on too long. And then, there were his eyes. Though focused and intense, they held a hint of sadness, like clouds overshadowing a bright sky. Curiosity got the better of her. Slowly, she stepped closer to the glass, pressing her nose gently against it as she tried to figure out what made this man different. That's when Alexander noticed her. At first, he thought she might be lost or simply curious, like any child would be. Children weren't uncommon in the building. They occasionally visited during family days or special events, but tonight felt different. This little girl wasn't wandering aimlessly or giggling with friends. She was standing still, staring directly at him, unafraid and completely absorbed in whatever thoughts were swirling in her mind. Intrigued, Alexander excused himself briefly from the meeting and walked toward the door. When he opened it, Lily didn't flinch or look away. Instead, she met his gaze with the kind of honesty only a child could possess. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then Alexander broke the silence. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone softer than usual. There was no irritation in his voice, only genuine curiosity. Lily blinked up at him, unfazed by his towering presence. "I'm here with my mom," she replied simply, pointing toward Maria, who was busy cleaning a nearby hallway. Before Alexander could respond, she added, "You don't look very happy." Her words hit him like a punch to the gut, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. No one had ever said something so bluntly to him before. Most people tiptoed around his emotions, afraid to offend him or risk losing favor. Yet here was this little girl, barely taller than his waist, calling him out with the innocence of someone who hadn't yet learned to filter their thoughts. For a split second, Alexander didn't know how to react. He glanced back at the meeting room, where the others were waiting for him to return. Then, he looked down at Lily again, his expression softening. "And what makes you say that?" he asked, genuinely interested in her perspective. Lily crossed her arms over her chest, looking thoughtful. "You're wearing a suit like everyone else, but your eyes look sad," she explained, matter-of-factly. Her voice was clear and steady, as if stating the obvious. "It's like you're pretending to be okay, but you're not." A stunned silence fell between them. Alexander stared at her, unsure whether to laugh, dismiss her comment, or take it seriously. What struck him most wasn't just her observation, it was the sincerity behind it. She wasn't trying to impress him or win his approval. She was simply sharing what she saw without judgment or pretense. Before either of them could say more, Maria appeared, panic flashing across her face. "Lily!" she exclaimed, rushing over to pull her daughter away. "I'm so sorry, sir." She didn't mean to bother you, but Alexander raised a hand, stopping her mid-apology. "It's fine," he said calmly, his eyes still locked on Lily. "She's observant." Turning back to Maria, he added, "Is she always like this?" Maria nodded sheepishly. "Yes, sir. Always asking questions, always noticing things. Sometimes it gets her into trouble." Alexander chuckled softly, glancing at Lily once more. There was something refreshing about her honesty, something that reminded him of a time when life felt simpler, back when he used to dream big dreams, instead of chasing endless goals, back when happiness wasn't measured by stock prices or quarterly reports. "Well," he said after a pause, "maybe we can learn something from her tonight." With that, he invited Maria and Lily to join him for coffee in the building's cafe, a request that left both mother and daughter wide-eyed with surprise. Maria hesitated, unsure if accepting such an offer was appropriate, but Alexander reassured her. "Think of it as a thank you for letting me see things from a new perspective," he said with a smile. As they made their way to the cafe, Lily skipped happily beside her mom, oblivious to the significance of the moment. Maria, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary was unfolding. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, this chance encounter would lead to something greater than she could have imagined. Once seated at a cozy corner table, Alexander ordered hot chocolate for Lily and coffee for Maria, insisting they relax while he asked questions about their lives. He listened intently as Maria shared stories of her struggles and triumphs, her love for Lily evident in every word. Meanwhile, Lily chatted animatedly about her favorite books, her school projects, and her dream of becoming a teacher someday. Throughout the conversation, Alexander found himself drawn to their warmth and resilience. Here were two people who had so little compared to the wealth surrounding them, yet they radiated strength and kindness. It was humbling and inspiring in a way he hadn't experienced in years. By the end of the evening, Alexander knew one thing for certain. This meeting wasn't just a coincidence. It was a reminder of what truly mattered in life. And as he watched Lily sip her hot chocolate with a contented smile, he realized that sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. The cafe in Sterling Tower was usually a quiet, elegant space reserved for executives and high-profile clients. Leather chairs surrounded polished wooden tables, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the faint scent of pastries. But tonight it felt different, warmer, more alive. The presence of Maria and Lily transformed the atmosphere, filling it with laughter, curiosity, and an unspoken sense of connection. As they sat together at a corner table, Alexander listened intently to Maria's story. She spoke softly but with a strength that revealed years of perseverance. She told him about growing up in a small town, dreaming of a better life for herself and her family. How she moved to the city after finishing high school, hoping to build a future where opportunities weren't scarce. And then came motherhood, a beautiful, unexpected chapter that changed everything. "I never planned on being a single mom," Maria admitted, her voice tinged with both regret and pride. "But when Lily came into my life, I realized I didn't need plans. I just needed love." She's my reason for waking up every day, no matter how hard things get." Lily, sitting beside her mom, beamed at the compliment. Her fingers traced the rim of her hot chocolate mug as she added, "And Mom is my superhero. She works so hard for us. One day I want to make her proud by becoming a teacher. Teachers help people, right? So I think that's what I'm meant to do." Her words brought a smile to Alexander's face. There was something pure and genuine about the way she spoke, as if her dreams were already within reach. He leaned back, in his chair, studying the pair thoughtfully. Despite their struggles, they radiated hope, a quality he hadn't encountered much in his own life lately. For years, Alexander had poured all his energy into building his empire. He rose early, worked late, and sacrificed personal relationships along the way. Success became his sole focus, and while he achieved incredible milestones, he often found himself wondering, what's the point of all this if I'm not happy? Money, power, and recognition couldn't fill the void inside him. Loneliness had become his constant companion, lurking in the shadows even during moments of triumph. Listening to Maria and Lily now, he began to see what he'd been missing. Their bond was simple yet profound, a reminder that true wealth wasn't measured in bank accounts or boardroom victories. It was found in the connections we nurture, the lives we touch, and the love we share. After a few minutes of silence, Alexander cleared his throat. "Maria," he said, leaning forward slightly, "I know we've only just met, but I feel like fate brought us together tonight." Maria raised an eyebrow, unsure where this was going. "Fate?" she echoed, glancing at Lily, who grinned mischievously. "That's a big word for such a little meeting." Alexander chuckled, appreciating her humor. "Maybe it is, but hear me out." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "I run a foundation dedicated to improving education and creating opportunities for underserved communities. We're always looking for passionate individuals to join our team, someone who understands what it means to overcome challenges and inspire others." Maria's eyes widened. "Are you offering me a job?" "Yes," Alexander replied firmly. "Not as a cleaner, though. I want you to work in the foundation. As an assistant, you'll help organize programs, mentor students, and support families like yours. Your experience and determination are exactly what we need." For a moment, Maria was speechless. Her mind raced with questions. Could she really handle such a role? Would she fit in among professionals who seemed worlds apart from her? What about Lily? How would this change their lives? Sensing her hesitation, Alexander reassured her. "I know it might seem overwhelming at first, but trust me, you have everything it takes. Plus, you won't be alone. I'll make sure you have the training and resources you need to succeed." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes as she processed his offer. It wasn't just about the job, it was about the belief someone was placing in her. For so long, she had doubted her worth, thinking she was destined to stay in the background, unnoticed and undervalued. But here was Alexander Drake, a billionaire, a man whose name graced billboards and magazine covers, telling her she mattered. "I don't know what to say," Maria whispered, her voice trembling. "Thank you doesn't feel like enough. You don't have to thank me," Alexander said gently. "Just promise me one thing. Never stop fighting for your dreams. You and Lily deserve every opportunity this world has to offer." Lily, unable to contain her excitement any longer, jumped out of her seat and hugged Alexander tightly. "Does this mean Mom gets to wear fancy clothes too?" she asked innocently, causing everyone to burst into laughter. From that night on, Maria's life began to change in ways she never imagined. With Alexander's guidance, she transitioned into her new role at the foundation. At first, it was challenging, learning new skills, adapting to a corporate environment, and managing her nerves around people who seemed so accomplished. But she quickly proved herself to be a natural. Her empathy, work ethic, and ability to connect with others made her invaluable to the team. Meanwhile, Lily became a regular visitor at Sterling Tower. Whenever Maria worked late, Alexander invited the girl to spend time in his office. Together, they pored over books, discussed ideas, and dreamed up projects to help children like her. Lily's creativity amazed him. She drew pictures of classrooms filled with smiling kids, wrote stories about teachers changing lives, and even suggested starting a book club for underprivileged students. Their friendship blossomed into something truly special. To Alexander, Lily wasn't just a curious child, she was a source of inspiration. Her innocence reminded him of the joy he used to find in simpler pleasures before success consumed him. Slowly, he started making changes in his own life. He cut back on unnecessary meetings, spent more time mentoring young entrepreneurs, and reconnected with old friends he had neglected over the years. Word of their unlikely bond spread throughout the building. Employees whispered about the billionaire who took a shine to a cleaner's daughter, marveling at how Lily's straightforward observations had softened the hardened businessman. Some joked that she was the only person brave enough to tell him the truth, while others admired her courage and wisdom beyond her years. One evening, as Maria tidied up her desk before heading home, Alexander stopped by to chat. "You know," he said, leaning against the doorway, "I've been doing some reflecting lately. About my life, my priorities, everything. And I realized something important." "What's that?" Maria asked, intrigued. "All these years, I thought success meant achieving more money, more deals, more recognition. But now I understand that real success is about impact. It's about making a difference in people's lives. Thanks to you and Lily, I've rediscovered what truly matters." Maria smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We've learned a lot from you too, Alexander. You've shown us that kindness and generosity can change lives forever." As they stood there, sharing a quiet moment of mutual respect, neither of them could have predicted how far this journey would take them. What started as a chance encounter between a struggling mom, her curious daughter, and a lonely billionaire had turned into something extraordinary. A partnership built on trust, hope, and the belief that everyone deserves a chance to shine. And so step by step, Maria, Lily, and Alexander continued to rise together, proving that even in the most unexpected places, miracles can happen when hearts open and paths cross. Time moved quickly for Maria, Lily, and Alexander. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to grow, learn, and make a difference. For Maria, stepping into her role at the foundation was like walking into uncharted territory. Everything felt unfamiliar: the sleek office furniture, the hum of computers, the buzz of professional conversations. But she tackled it all with determination. Her hands, once calloused from cleaning floors, now typed emails and drafted proposals. Her voice, once hesitant, grew confident as she spoke during meetings or led workshops for parents and students. At first, Maria worried that she wouldn't fit in. She often compared herself to the other employees, many of whom had degrees from prestigious universities and years of experience in corporate environments. But what she lacked in formal education, she more than made up for with heart. Her empathy and understanding of struggles resonated deeply with the families she served. When a single mother shared how overwhelmed she felt juggling work and parenting, Maria offered practical advice born out of her own experiences. When a teenager doubted their ability to pursue higher education, Maria reminded them that dreams are worth fighting for, no matter how impossible they seem. Her hard work didn't go unnoticed. Within months, Maria earned promotions and took on greater responsibilities within the foundation. She helped design programs aimed at empowering women returning to the workforce, organized mentorship initiatives for at-risk youth, and even spearheaded a campaign to provide free school supplies to underprivileged children. Every success fueled her confidence, proving to herself and everyone around her that she was capable of far more than she ever imagined. Lily, meanwhile, thrived under Alexander's mentorship. Though still a child, she became a regular fixture at Sterling Tower, earning nicknames like the Little Professor among the staff. Employees would often stop by Alexander's office just to chat with her, marveling at her curiosity and creativity. She loved asking questions about everything, from how businesses operated to why certain policies were created, and wasn't afraid to challenge ideas if they didn't align with her sense of fairness. One afternoon, while coloring a picture of a classroom filled with smiling kids, Lily looked up at Alexander and asked, "Why don't all schools have enough books? Isn't reading important?" Alexander paused, considering her question. It is, he replied. But sometimes schools don't have enough money to buy books or hire teachers. That's why we try to help however we can. Well, Lily said thoughtfully, tapping her crayon against the paper, maybe we should start a library where kids can borrow books for free. Like a big one, with comfy chairs and snacks too. Her idea sparked something in Alexander. Over the next few weeks, he worked closely with Maria and the foundation team to turn Lily's vision into reality. Together, they launched a community library program, partnering with local schools and businesses to stock shelves with donated books. The project not only provided resources for children, but also created safe spaces where families could gather, learn, and connect. It was a testament to the power of imagination and the impact one small voice could have when heard. As years passed, Lily grew into a bright, compassionate young woman. Her dream of becoming a teacher remained steadfast, and with Alexander's support, she earned scholarships to attend a top university. During her studies, she interned at the foundation, gaining first-hand experience in education advocacy and community development. Watching her blossom into a leader brought immense pride to Maria, who often reflected on how far they'd come since those early days of struggle. For Alexander, the transformation was equally profound. His friendship with Maria and Lily reignited passions he thought he'd lost along the way. He began shifting his focus from profit-driven ventures to meaningful projects that addressed social inequalities. Under his leadership, the foundation expanded its reach, funding scholarships, building schools in underserved areas, and launching initiatives to combat poverty. He also started mentoring young entrepreneurs, teaching them to use their skills for good rather than just personal gain. Despite his growing fame as a philanthropist, Alexander remained grounded. He credited much of his change to Lily's simple yet profound observations. Her comment about his eyes looking sad stayed with him, reminding him to prioritize emotional well-being over material success. He surrounded himself with people who cared about him, not because of his wealth or influence, but because of who he was. Slowly, the loneliness that had haunted him for decades began to fade, replaced by genuine connections and a renewed sense of purpose. Their journey wasn't without challenges, of course. There were moments when doubt crept in, when Maria questioned whether she was truly qualified for her role, or when Alexander faced criticism for devoting so much time to charity work. But through it all, they leaned on each other, drawing strength from their shared experiences and unwavering belief in the power of kindness. The media eventually caught wind of their story, dubbing it the Billionaire and the Brave Girl. Journalists clamored to interview them, eager to uncover the details of their unlikely friendship. Cameras followed Maria as she visited classrooms, highlighting her work with the foundation. Reporters shadowed Lily during volunteer events, capturing her infectious enthusiasm and passion for helping others. And everywhere Alexander went, people praised him for using his fortune to uplift those in need. During one particularly memorable press conference, Lily stood beside Maria and Alexander, addressing the crowd with the same boldness she'd shown years earlier. "Sometimes people think you have to be rich or famous to make a difference," she said, her voice steady despite the sea of faces before her. "But that's not true. All you need is a kind heart and a willingness to help. My mom taught me that, and Mr. Drake showed me that even the smallest actions can lead to big changes." Her words struck a chord with audiences worldwide. Letters poured in from strangers inspired by their story, thanking them for reminding humanity of its potential for good. Schools began incorporating their journey into lesson plans, encouraging students to dream big and act selflessly. Charitable organizations reached out, hoping to collaborate on projects that aligned with their mission of empowerment and equality. Through it all, Maria remained humble, refusing to let fame distract her from her goals. "We're just ordinary people trying to do our part," she often said during interviews. "If sharing our story helps someone else believe in themselves, then that's all that matters." And yet, there was nothing ordinary about what they had achieved. Together, they proved that life's greatest victories aren't measured by titles or bank accounts, They're found in the lives we touch and the legacies we leave behind. As Lily prepared to graduate from college, ready to step into her role as a teacher, she carried with her the lessons learned from both her mother and Alexander. That success isn't about climbing ladders. It's about lifting others as you rise. In the end, their bond transcended roles and titles. They weren't just a cleaner-turned-advocate, a billionaire-turned-philanthropist, and a curious child-turned-leader. They were family, bound not by blood, but by love, trust, and a shared commitment to making the world a better place. And though their paths might diverge in the future, the impact they created together would endure, inspiring generations to come. The years rolled on, each one bringing its own milestones and memories for Maria, Lily, and Alexander. Their lives continued to intertwine in ways that none of them could have predicted on that fateful night when Lily first walked into Sterling Tower. What began as a simple encounter had blossomed into something extraordinary, a story of resilience, mentorship, and the transformative power of kindness. Lily's graduation day arrived, bright and sunny, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers through the air. The university's grand auditorium buzzed with excitement as families filled the rows of seats, cameras clicking and murmurs of anticipation filling the space. Maria sat near the front, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, trying to hold back tears of pride. Beside her, Alexander adjusted his tie, looking every bit the dignified billionaire, but there was a softness in his eyes that only those who knew him well could see. When Lily's name was called, she stepped onto the stage with confidence, her cap sitting slightly askew atop her head. Her gown swished softly as she moved, and her smile lit up the room. She accepted her diploma with a nod of gratitude before turning to face the audience. For a brief moment, her gaze lingered on Maria and Alexander, silently thanking them for everything they had done for her. Then, stepping up to the microphone, she took a deep breath and began her speech. Today is a celebration of hard work, determination, and the people who believe in us. Lily started, her voice steady and clear. But I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for two very special individuals, my mom, Maria Thompson, and my mentor, Alexander Drake. A ripple of applause spread through the crowd as Maria wiped away tears and Alexander gave a small, proud smile. Lily continued, her words flowing effortlessly. My mom taught me that no matter how tough life gets, you keep going. She showed me what strength looks like, not just in big moments, but in the quiet sacrifices we make every single day. And Mr. Drake? Well, he reminded me that even the smallest voices can spark change. He believed in me when I didn't know how to believe in myself. Her speech shifted to focus on the lessons she'd learned throughout her journey, the importance of seeing people for who they truly are, the value of empathy, and the courage it takes to step outside your comfort zone. Never underestimate the power of noticing someone, she said earnestly, glancing at Alexander. Sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything. By the time she finished, the entire auditorium erupted into applause. People rose to their feet, cheering not just for Lily but for the message she represented: hope, perseverance, and the beauty of human connection. As Lily returned to her seat, she hugged Maria tightly, whispering, "We did it, Mom." Then, turning to Alexander, she added with a grin, "And thank you for everything." In the months that followed, Lily embarked on her teaching career, landing a position at an inner-city school where resources were scarce, but passion ran high. Her classroom quickly became a haven for students eager to learn and grow. Posters covered the walls, books lined shelves donated by the foundation, and laughter echoed through the halls. Lily poured her heart into her work, using the skills and values instilled in her by Maria and Alexander to inspire her students. Maria, meanwhile, continued to excel in her role at the foundation. She had risen to become the director of education, initiatives overseeing programs that empowered countless families across the country. Her leadership style was rooted in compassion and collaboration, earning her respect from colleagues and beneficiaries alike. When asked about her success, she always credited her daughter and Alexander for helping her discover her potential. Alexander, too, had undergone a remarkable transformation. His decision to prioritize philanthropy over profit reshaped not only his legacy but also the lives of thousands. He established scholarships in Lily's name, ensuring that future generations of underprivileged children would have access to quality education. He funded projects aimed at breaking cycles of poverty, investing in communities rather than corporations, and perhaps most importantly, he embraced vulnerability, allowing himself to form deeper connections with those around him. Their bond remained strong, even as their individual paths diverged. Maria and Lily often visited Alexander at his office, sharing meals and catching up on life. Holidays were spent together, with Alexander joining them for cozy dinners in their modest apartment or weekend getaways to scenic spots. Though their backgrounds couldn't have been more different, they shared a connection that transcended wealth, status, or circumstance. One evening, as they sat around a crackling fire during a winter retreat, Alexander raised a toast. "To family," he said, his voice warm and sincere. Not the kind bound by blood, but the kind forged through trust, love, and a shared commitment to making the world a better place. Maria smiled, raising her glass. "To second chances, and to never giving up, no matter how hard things get. And to dreams," Lily added, her eyes sparkling with mischief, "because sometimes they come true in ways you least expect." As the years went by, their impact rippled outward, touching lives far beyond their immediate circle. The library program Lily had envisioned expanded nationwide, providing millions of children with access to books and learning materials. Teachers trained through the foundation implemented innovative methods in classrooms, fostering creativity and critical thinking. Families once trapped in cycles of poverty found opportunities to build brighter futures. Even the media coverage of their story inspired others to take action. Strangers reached out, sharing how Lily's words had motivated them to pursue their passions or lend a helping hand to someone in need. Schools incorporated their journey into curricula, teaching students the importance of resilience, empathy, and service. Nonprofits partnered with the foundation, amplifying its reach and effectiveness. Yet, despite the accolades and recognition, Maria, Lily, and Alexander stayed grounded. They understood that true fulfillment came not from praise, but from the knowledge that they had made a difference. Whether it was a struggling student finding confidence in Lily's classroom, a single mother discovering hope through Maria's programs, or a young entrepreneur receiving guidance from Alexander, their efforts created ripples of positive change that extended far beyond what any of them could have imagined. On a crisp autumn afternoon, several years after Lily's graduation, the trio gathered at a newly opened community center named in honor of Maria's contributions. The building stood tall and inviting, its walls adorned with colorful murals painted by local artists. Inside, children laughed as they explored the library, played games, and participated in workshops designed to ignite their imaginations. Standing near the entrance, Maria watched as Lily knelt beside a group of kids, reading them a story with animated expressions. Nearby, Alexander chatted with parents, listening intently to their concerns and offering words of encouragement. It was a scene that perfectly encapsulated their journey, a testament to the power of coming together to uplift others. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the sky, Maria felt a profound sense of peace. She thought about the long road they had traveled, the late nights, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, and realized that every step had led them here. Together, they had transformed adversity into opportunity, hardship into hope, and strangers into family. "This is it," Maria whispered to herself, smiling softly. "This is what it means to live a meaningful life." And as she looked around at the faces of those whose lives they had touched, she knew one thing for certain. Their story wasn't just about survival or success. It was about creating a legacy of love and light that would endure for generations to come.